Hey everybody, it's me, Caitlin, your favorite Michigan girl. I am here once again to recap WandaVision episode 4. I lost count for a moment. We are on episode 4. We interrupt this program. I am loving the titles. I am loving WandaVision. It seems like each episode just gets better and better and a little bit more creepier and a little bit more twisted. And I am here for it and I am loving it and I am super, super excited. There is some Marvel news, and I do have some stuff to share for you, but let's save that for the end. Let's not waste any time and jump right into this week's recap. As always, a spoiler alert is in effect for anything I talk about in this recap because I'm going to ruin it. Let's be frank, I cannot keep a secret to save my life. Anyway, let's get started because this week's episode, we interrupt this program, jump-started us in a big, big way. You guys, we are no longer in the sitcom. We are back in the real world. That's right. No sitcom this week, which was really weird after 3 episodes of seeing the sitcoms. But also a really nice break because now we can get some questions answered about what's going on in the real world and just what is happening. So, we jump into this episode in a big way, like I said, because we see the blip. The blip. The blip was the name that was given to the event of Bruce Banner snapping his fingers and bringing back everybody who was snapped. Let me rephrase that. Everybody who was snapped. I have had some friends tell me they think that Vision was part of the blip. I personally do not think Vision was part of the blip because Vision was already dead. If you were dead, you weren't going to be brought back. But we see the after effects of the blip, and we see it through a character from Captain Marvel. It's my Captain Marvel shirt, you guys. We are reintroduced to Monica Rambeau. Monica Rambeau was the wide-eyed, adventurous little girl from Captain Marvel, whose mom, Maria Rambeau, was the best friend of Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel. So Monica was exposed to this world of aliens and superpowers and adventures at a very young age. And what's interesting is as we see the blip, which is basically everyone being dusted, but in reverse. So when the snap happened, everybody turned into dust and scattered. The blip, it was the dusting, but in reverse, which was really interesting. And oh my gosh, my lighting is so bad, you guys. I am sorry. I keep messing with this. I don't know what's going on. There we go. Let's hope it works. Kind of works. It will work for today. So as Monica is being blipped back, we hear a voice talking. I watched this episode 3 times on my own, not reactions, but on my own. And I'm sorry, guys, I keep messing with the lighting. And I think I know who that voice is. I actually think that voice we're hearing is Monica when she was a little girl. So I think we're hearing Monica from Captain Marvel. So I think that's who we hear talking as Monica is blipped back. Now it's not just Monica we see being blipped back. Monica awakens in a hospital room and becomes frantic because it's clear she's looking for someone. She runs out into the hallway and there's people popping back into existence, like going everywhere. It is utter chaos. It is insane. It is beyond belief. But Monica is focused on finding her mom. A doctor finds her, one Monica knows, and come to find out, the day the snap happened, Monica was in the hospital waiting for her mom, Maria Rambeau, to be discharged because Maria had cancer and had just had surgery to remove it. Now, the doctor reveals that surgery was a success, but tragically, Maria died during the 5 years everyone was gone. So, unfortunately, Maria is gone and Monica is now left without a parent. That is really, really sad. However, these events do confirm, especially with let me move into it. 3 weeks later, Monica goes to SWORD, which stands for Sentient Weapon Observation Response Division. I actually have notes, you guys. I took notes. I'm so proud of myself. Now, the reason I kind of hesitated and mentioned the 3 weeks is because it's really important because that does confirmed, and Marvel has come out and confirmed it, when WandaVision takes place within the greater MCU storyline, which is always something people are wondering. So with the information that Monica was blipped and 3 weeks later she's back at SWORD, that confirms that WandaVision actually takes place between Endgame and Spider-Man Far From Home. Which again, I'm going to be talking about Spider-Man Far From Home a little bit later because I do think what happens in there, especially one scene in particular, kind of has some relevance to something people have been asking about with this episode. So, Monica returns the sword, and we actually learned something really interesting. Maria wasn't just a part of Sword. If you watched Captain Marvel, you do remember that Fury actually hinted at Maria coming to work for S.H.I.E.L.D. Well, Maria worked for Sword, and she wasn't just like another pilot for Sword. Maria Rambeau actually helped create Sword and build it up. So Maria Rambeau was a founding member of Sword, which apparently in the comics, Sword and S.H.I.E.L.D. do not get along. So, Maria helped found Sword. Monica, it's revealed, has been around Sword since she was a little kid. So she's basically growing up with Sword. All this information is revealed to us by the new acting director, Taylor Haywood, who is apparently really close to Monica. He was really close to Maria, and he has taken over. So apparently Maria Rambeau was the director of Sword, but with her death, this guy has stepped into the position, even though it's hinted at the position should go to Monica because she has spent her entire life at Sword, either growing up there or now being an agent, and he actually refers to her as Captain. Also interesting to note is as Monica, I keep wanting to call her Maria, as Monica and Director Haywood walk through the facility, Monica notes some changes about the name, which I actually have written down in my notes that it sounds like Sword actually was known by a different name originally. And then towards the events of Endgame, post-Endgame, that is when the name was changed to be Sentient Weapon Observation Response Division. But it is made clear that they focus a lot on outer space. He talks about Monica having gone up in space before. So it's very clear that they're more focused on space and the threats out in space and any potential allies. He does mention that they have Monica asks him on the astronaut program. He says it's not doing great. And here's the first thing he mentions. He mentions that some of his astronauts have gone missing. And everybody's too afraid. And some people heard that and have gotten excited. I'm kind of on the fence about it because the reference to the missing astronauts could actually be a reference to Fantastic Four, which at Disney Investor Days, Feige did announce that they are in process of doing a Fantastic Four movie. Fingers crossed, it is so much better than the other Fantastic Four movies that have been made so far. Granted, Chris Evans did make a very cute torch. So anyway, Haywood takes Monica to his office, informs her she is grounded. She is only going to be able to do terrestrial missions, something that was set out by her mother for in case anybody who disappeared came back, which he tells Monica, hey, that means your mom never gave up hope and that you would always be back. The mission he gives Monica is that the FBI has requested the use of a Sword drone in a missing persons case. This sends Monica on the way to Westview, New Jersey, where some things are different. Once there, she meets up with the Agent Woo. If you recognize him, you should. Agent Woo first appeared in Ant-Man and the Wasp as a semi-bumbling FBI agent in charge of Scott Lang's parole. Probably best well known for him trying to learn how to do magic. And it's clear he's actually gotten better at using magic from his first appearance. He reveals that he is actually there because he had a witness in witness protection program that mysteriously vanished, and when he tried to contact the guy's family and friends, not only had they not seen him, they claimed they had never heard of him. This leads him to introducing Monica to a couple police officers who are standing there and ask them to tell her what they told him about Westview. The police replied that they've never heard of Westview. In fact, the town never existed, even though they're standing right next to a giant sign that says, welcome to Westview. The cops are from Eastview. The cops drive off, and Agent Woo says that this is no longer just a missing persons case. This is a missing town. Over 3,000 people have gone missing. Nobody has heard of Westview. Nobody has ever heard of these people. And it's kind of weird that Agent Woo and Monica actually are aware of Westview, that there are people there, but nobody else knows. So it's like within a certain radius of Westview, people don't know that Westview existed or that people lived there. So it's very, very interesting. Monica gets out the drone, they go to send it in, and the drone vanishes, which leads Monica to step up to what we saw in Now in Color, this barrier, this staticky barrier. When she reaches out to touch it, Monica gets sucked in. So it's clear, as Agent Wu said, nobody can go in, and it doesn't want anybody to come out either. So people are kind of trapped on the inside or the outside. I'm trying to gather my thoughts from my notes. Very quickly after Monica is sucked in, a multi-organizational base camp has been set up. People from all branches of the military, sword, everybody is there. And we are introduced to another fan favorite, you guys. Darcy Lewis is back. Darcy from Thor and Thor Dark World has returned. This time she is Dr. Darcy and Astro. I think I have an Astro. She does astrophysics. That's what I have. She has not changed. She is still the cool, snarky, goofy Darcy that I fell in love with. I think she is awesome. She is one of my favorite secondary characters. I really think she should be a lead character, and I really feel like after watching this episode and her interactions with Agent Wu, Darcy and Wu should be given a show of their own because they are so awesome together. Anyway, Darcy arrives. She gets all set up and reveals that she got a high level of CMBR waves. There's some kind of cosmic radiation relating to the Big Bang. But within these readings, she also discovers a certain wavelength. She's able to pull up the sitcom from episode 1, the 1950s sitcom. Gets a TV, gets it set all up, and reveals that, hey, this stuff is happening. And she reveals that it is Wanda, it is Vision, and she goes, isn't Vision like dead? This leads to Hayward quickly getting out of base camp. Quick note, while he was there, Hayward did send a sword agent through the sewers, which Agent Wu was not a big fan of. They go back in, and that's when they realize Darcy got some kind of it's not what they were looking for, but it's something. It's the sitcom. Quick note, Darcy is the person we see at the end of episode 1 in front of a live audience. At the end of that episode, while the credits are rolling, it kind of moves into our world, and we see someone writing something in a notebook before closing it. That was Darcy. So that is really cool. So everybody said that was Darcy. Congratulations, you were correct. That was Dr. Darcy. And now I flip to my other page. Like I said, I have so many notes. With Hayward gone, Agent Wu takes command, and he says they're going to treat this as a missing persons case, which is what it was originally. They've identified Wanda and Vision. Now they get to work on using facial recognition via the sitcoms to identify everybody else. What's really interesting is at the end of the credits for the sitcom part of the episodes, they actually will list the characters with their counterparts. So Mr. and Mrs. Hart are played by this couple, and they're the couple who've gone missing. So that's a really cool Easter egg. And then at some point they realize they find Monica and she's like in deep cover, and they're really confused. Now at this point I would like to address one thing somebody in one of my Facebook groups brought up is why haven't they or didn't they or aren't they going to call any of the Avengers, anyone from S.H.I.E.L.D., like Fury, anything like that. I explained this, and I believe that they're not going to do that simply because of where everything is. Like I said, WandaVision takes place 3 weeks after everybody's been blipped back. And as we saw at the end of Endgame, the Avengers are kind of in a very somewhat difficult place. You know, Tony is gone. Captain America is gone and has passed his shield on to Sam, Falcon. Bruce has an injury. Natasha's gone. Clint's got... So everybody's kind of in this space of we don't know what to do right now. We're not really sure what to do. So they're all kind of... So the Avengers are kind of like off on their own, trying to figure out what to do, what's happening, what's going on in the world. And I think that's something... And that is something I can say that with confidence because I feel like that is backed up in Spider-Man Far From Home with fake Fury talking to Peter, and Peter asking why he has to be the superhero and go up against these elementals when there are all these other Avengers, because he's technically just like, I'm just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And so he lists off like Captain Marvel and Thor and Doctor Strange, and they're like, their response is, well, Captain Marvel don't speak that name, but they're like, Thor is off-world, which is true. Thor is with the Guardians. And they say Doctor Strange is unavailable. So in my mind, based on that scene, I don't think they could theoretically call the Avengers because, one, the Avengers are unavailable as they try to figure stuff out, and two, they probably wouldn't have contact information for the Avengers anyway at this point. As for S.H.I.E.L.D., again, I think S.H.I.E.L.D. is kind of non-existent at this point. Captain America, Winter Soldier, we kind of saw S.H.I.E.L.D. get taken down from the inside by Hydra. We saw in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., S.H.I.E.L.D. is still around, but it's not like this big organization it once was. There are hints of S.H.I.E.L.D. in Spider-Man Far From Home, but I do not think that in this moment in time it is the agency it once was. So I don't think S.H.I.E.L.D. would be a viable option. As for Fury himself, in Spider-Man Far From Home, we know that the Fury Peter talks to is not the real Fury, and from the looks of it, the real Fury, Nick Fury, is actually not a space, so he would be out of contact. So that is why I don't think we're going to really, why there are no Avengers, why there's no S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. It's just a combination of them not being organized, not having contact, and at this point in time, not really able to like really function. I mean, the closest Avenger I could think of that would probably jump in is Spider-Man, and he's kind of too young. So that is why I don't think, why, if you're wondering why there's no Avengers or S.H.I.E.L.D., that is what my personal opinion, and I'm basing that on Spider-Man Far From Home. I do think we will get more information in Falcon and the Winter Soldier and in the upcoming Marvel movies like the third Spider-Man, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. We'll get more information about what's going on at this time with the Avengers. But safe to say, I do not think we will see anything like that. If we do, I'll be very surprised. Anyway, like I said, they find Monica. Darcy comes up with a plan to get to talk to Wanda over the radio, which is what we see in episode 2. Don't Change the Channel, with that scene where she and Dottie are by the pool. Darcy is able to get in over the radio with Agent Wu asking Wanda questions if she needs help. And if we watch the episode, you know the radio blew up and Dottie cut her hand open. However, for Darcy watching the sitcom, she doesn't see that. It just seems to glitch and skip. So they call it a failure and just move on. Meanwhile, the agent sent through the sewer has made it through the barrier, and this is when we learn something interesting that was noted. Anything that passes through the barrier will change to match the decade. Case in point, when Darcy and Wu were getting ready to call out to Wanda over the radio, another agent brings a picture of the drone that was sent through earlier. That drone now looks like a toy helicopter. The agent that goes through the barrier turns into a beekeeper. He was in the hazmat suit, now assumes a beekeeper suit, and the chain that they had, like the cable, the cord they had connecting him so they would not lose him, snapped off, and the part that passed through the barrier turns into one of those really ugly plastic jump ropes that hurt your ankles when you were in school. So if you pass through the barrier, you change to match whatever decade is in that barrier right now. Another quick note about the drones I forgot to mention earlier. They were sending through a lot of drones, and each drone that went through made a boom sound. I honestly think that is what we were hearing in episode 2 when Wanda and Vision thought they were hearing tree branches and those booms. I think those were the drones that were passing through the barrier because they would make like a boom sound. So I honestly think that's what Wanda and Vision were hearing, and it was just the drones. Anyway, Darcy and Wu get caught up to the 70s, to Wanda having the babies. They're like, wow, we can't believe it. I love Darcy's comment, wow, twins, what a twist. What? I'm invested. We're literally invested in these people's lives. That's what happens when you watch a sitcom and you really like it. You become invested in the characters. They're watching when Monica mentions Ultron. And they're like, wait, has that happened? A reference to this world, to the real world? What's going on? You know, what's happening? They start to watch as Wanda starts like feeling threatened and advancing on Monica, and then whoop, cut to credits. Nothing. Even rewinding it, they don't see anything. Darcy says she thinks someone is censoring the broadcast, and I'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end. That's when they hear a boom, and that boom is Monica being ejected from Restview. So they go out to find her. Meanwhile, we're able to see what happened, and basically Monica is trying to defend herself, trying to make it clear, she's not a threat, she's not there to hurt anyone. But Wanda obviously feels threatened, and she tells Monica, you're not my friend, you're not my neighbor, you're an outsider, you're trespassing, you need to go. And she sends Monica flying out through the barrier. After she does this, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, Wanda looks at her hands like she's very unsure, like she does not know what she just did before repairing the house. Then we kind of pick up with the end of the episode where Vision comes in and asks where Geraldine is, and Wanda's like, oh, she had to run home. Turns around and we get a jump scare, like, not a big jump scare, but still made me jump because Vision is dead Vision. Like, there's a gaping hole in his head. He's pale. He's not bright colored or anything. He's just kind of grayed out. That made me jump. It makes Wanda jump. And then after a while, he's back to Vision as we know, bright purple. And he tells Wanda, look, Wanda, we don't have to stay here. We can leave. We don't have to stay. And Wanda says, no, we have to stay. And don't worry, I have everything under control. Which kind of backs up what Monica says when people are talking to her when she's laying in the grass outside, is it's Wanda. It's all Wanda. We jump back to the sitcom as Wanda and Vision go to sit on the couch, but we see this brief glimpse of Vision as though he's really starting to, in episode 2, I really feel like, 1 and 2, he's kind of feel like he was starting to, like, think things aren't right. And in episode 3, he was doing that and was rewound. So for that brief moment, we see Vision doubting what's going on, what's happening, and starting to question things. A lot of people now, because of Monica's comment saying Wanda is doing it all, have now jumped to the point that, yeah, this is 100% Wanda. I personally do not believe that Wanda is 100% controlling everything. Do I believe she created the reality? Yes, I believe she created that reality. I believe she is behind the sitcom, the stuff in Westview. Do I believe it was her idea? No. Do I believe that she is 100% absolutely controlling everything, even her own actions? No. For one thing, I do, while Wanda might have created this reality, it probably was for her to cope with everything that had happened with her brother and Vision and Nat and everything like that. I think somebody took control of Wanda, and I think somebody's kind of blown it out, and they're using Wanda, like 100%. Wanda is one of the most strongest Avengers, and she is like, is very powerful. Like I said, she's one of the strongest, so obviously people are going to try and use that to their advantage. So I still think that's what's happening here. I think somebody's using the traumatic events that happened to Wanda, they're preying on her, and they're using that to their advantage to control her powers and see how far they can push her. One of the reasons I say that is going back to that moment after Wanda pushes Geraldine Monica out of Westview, is the way Wanda looks at her hands. Like, Wanda has been using her powers, there's no doubt about it. That's kind of been part of the plot of the sitcoms. But she's never used her powers like this. And the way she just, like, looks at her hands after she does it, she looks very kind of almost shell-shocked, like she's not fully aware, like she didn't know she could do that, like she didn't know she did do that. Like, it's almost like she did it, and then it's just like, wait, what happened? What did I do? So that is why I don't believe it is 100% Wanda. Because if that was Wanda, and she was doing that, and she knew exactly what she was doing, fully understood what she was doing, I do not think we would have had that moment where she stops and stares at her hands for, like, that second, and, like, disbelief, not sure, not fully knowing what she did. So that's why I'm saying there, and I'm still saying this is not 100% Wanda doing all this, because Wanda is not really totally aware of what she is doing, of what is happening. She's aware somewhat, yes. Completely, no. So I do not think Wanda is doing this. So that is where we leave off for this week's episode. I'm super excited. It looks like we're back in the real world again. We still have the 80s and 90s to go on the sitcom, and it looks like we're getting really, really interesting. Somebody said they saw a picture of Pietro, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going yay and because I really don't want to get my heart broken, because oddly enough, I really did like the character Pietro in Age of Ultron, so I'm really sad that we didn't get more of him, because it would have been really cool to see Wanda and Pietro's dynamic as part of the Avengers. But yeah, so that is big. We are almost done, you guys. March 5th is right around the corner. So on to other news. I told you guys about the WandaVision Funko Pops. I wanted to show you guys that I did get the Chase Pop. It is 1950s Vision. Here it is. He looks exactly the same, except he is in this synth form. This was the chaser, and I don't understand why. I feel like the human version should have been the chaser, and this should have been the regular version. But I have it. So, yay. In other Marvel news, quick note, they have announced, Disney Plus, that they are in development of a new MCU series, this time set in Wakanda, about Wakanda. So I'm really, really excited to see where that goes. If it happens, I am super pumped to see it. Black Panther is one of my favorite MCU movies. So I'm really, really excited to see a series about Wakanda, about the people who call it home. Just like I am excited to see Black Panther 2, I am crossing my fingers that Shuri is the new Black Panther because I think that would be awesome and amazing. And rumor has it, Super Bowl Sunday is this Sunday, February 7th. As always, you can expect a ton of commercials. And rumor has it, we will be seeing some commercials for the MCU. Apparently, a new commercial for Falcon and Winter Soldier. Maybe a new one for Black Widow and a new one for Loki, as well as a teaser for the Eternals, which we have not gotten anything for. So I might be busy on my birthday, which is next Monday, watching a bunch of Marvel trailers. We'll see what happens. So you guys, tell me down in the comments below what you thought about last week's episode. We interrupt this program. And do you now think that Wanda is 100% in control of everything that is happening? Or do you, like me, think there is someone else pulling the strings? Let me know what you guys think down below as your thoughts on this episode and the season today. And were you guys creeped out by Dead Vision too? So let me know what you guys think. Also, if you like this video, don't forget to give me a big old thumbs up. It helps me feel very confident. And also hit subscribe so I can keep making these videos for you guys. So I will be back next week some point with a recap for the next episode of WandaVision. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy. I am sending you all lots of love, hugs, and prayers, and I will talk to you later. Bye, everybody.